Hola! May I tell you why it is such a good day today? Because you're here and I am here. The trees are eating up the CO2 and growing beautifully. The sky is blue. And some of us have clean water. Have you ever heard a politician at election time talk about clean water for our native cousins? No, me either. But I did hear the man-child blame you and I for his racist, lying, psychopathic ways. What a fucking clown. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry. Please forgive me. And I mean it. Please forgive me. So, I still see no coverage on Max, as per usual, with propaganda advertisement stations. I see the propaganda stations phone the cops on that one free press man, citizen journalist, because they didn't want him following them. That was pretty funny. Hey, that's an old trick you'd see on one of those movies, eh? You know, just phone the cops, and the cops hang up this guy, and yeah, they all take off, right? Now, to me, that's a misuse of taxpayers' money. And there's no way that those guys didn't know that Andrew was following them. There's absolutely no way. They knew who it was. It's funny how a couple of young ladies can go in as accredited journalists because she had on her little phone, and she looks at security and says, oh yeah, I wrote an article once. Okay, maybe she was an aspiring journalist at school still. And the other one was just hanging around. And then Andrew, who's a real journalist, a free press, the backwatcher of the public, a man who's going to ask your public servants hard questions, he can't come in because he's not accredited. Oh, jeez. Are we oh my God. Are we that sad? Are we that sad that as a people, as a nation, as a country, that we're going to put up with this stuff from our public servants? That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I had something I specifically wish to talk about because I did beg for forgiveness and said that I can do better and I will do better. But every time I turn on the camera, you know, my head swarms with just everything that is going on. Okay, let's look at the election just overall. Let's look at the voter list. Now, can any of you, say we are better off today than we were 25 years ago? Now, I can honestly attest to saying, yeah, we are a little bit better. We were. Well, no, we're not. We were there. I mean, Harper did some good stuff for this nation. Getting rid of registering your guns. Number one, that's the last thing you need is government. The government has no right to know your property, especially the feds. They don't have a mandate over guns. That's a provincial mandate. They only have a mandate over what comes across, their jurisdictional borders. So, basically at best, lawfully, legally, they could turn around and say, okay, we won't let certain guns in within the country. They could say to manufacturers within this nation, saying, well, you can't manufacture certain guns for this nation. That would be more honest and legit government, but we all know government's not honest and legit. Like, is anybody really happy the way they're working us into servitude just to survive? and then telling us how they're going to do us a big favor and throw a few pennies back at it. Oh yeah, they outlawed pennies because they devalued our dollar so back. You know, they ruined our dollar so much that we have no buying power. So yeah, no pennies. Right. I think I was just talking about that this morning. I mean, who's happy? Like, these guys actually happy? These guys buy any of this crap? Like, I'm sure Scheer's a good enough guy. But is he ready for the world stage? You know, the Pope's call out for the meeting on the 2020, May, I think it's May or March 2020. If Andrew's in, I'm sure he's going to show up. Now, if Trudeau's in, it's 50-50 whether he shows up. I mean, by heritage, you know, he's a Catholic. His actions, well, besides being a hypocrite and a liar, somebody who doesn't know how to manage our money, somebody who's just making laws to oppress this nation, oppress the people, somebody who's just going to come out and divide the people by profiling. You know, I was, Buddy brought it up, CBC brought up the other day that, you know, Max was seen with white supremacists. I says, well, who the hell is that? You know, like, what white supremacist is so homogenized now that it has no meaning. So who are these white supremacists? He said, well, the KKK. I said, really? I said, Max was seen with the KKK as supporters? Well, finally it came out. They were talking about the Sons voted. Oh, for fuck's sake. The Sons of Odin started in Norway. You know, a predominantly white place. They got hit with bad government, and bad immigration laws, and they got hit with mass immigration. So what was happening was, and they were one of the first European countries, not as bad as say Belgium or France, not quite, but they were one of the first Northern European countries to bring in a bunch of mass immigration. Now you got these people coming in from a completely different culture on mass immigration, and they look at our sons and daughters as dirt, as not human, as not part of mankind. And so, you know, they treat, you know, they treat their adopted country neighbors as enemies and as dirt, and, you know, start grooming young girls and so on and so forth. I mean, you guys have seen the news, you know what's going on. I don't have to go on about it, you know. But so anyways, you know, a lot of crap was happening because of this mass immigration. So the streets were getting so bad. I mean, streets that you could walk. There wasn't a street in Toronto I couldn't walk down at one time. Not one frickin' street. And you didn't have to worry about getting, you know, you meet some rough characters or whatever. Keep walking for the most part and look at the ground and keep going, and you walk by it, through it, past it, for the most part. You know, the odd violent incident. It was an odd violent incident that happened, you know. And now, no, it's apartment buildings getting shot up, and innocent kids that actually good students, innocent kids with a good future, dying for absolutely no reason, but somebody wanted to make a rap video. And so the answer with these dictators, these Mickey Mouse, Banana Republic, communist dictators, is, oh, go after the guns, go after the guns. Well, no, man. No, you have to go after the criminals. You need to go after the criminals. You know, as I've stated before, you know, Highway 16, the Highway of Tears, north of Prince George. I mean, young women have been taken and killed, and God knows what's happened to them between their being taken and killed. And you're telling me that we don't pay enough in resources for this Crown Corporate Police Force we call RECOM to investigate and find out who the hell's doing this, to catch the crooks? Yeah, so as far as from what I know, from what I saw, and I did investigate it when it was happening here, the Sons of Odin were people from neighborhoods, and pretty much anybody from a neighborhood could join the Sons of Odin, so that they could patrol their streets to keep the crime at bay. And yeah, I can hear the progressives yelling, oh, they're white supremacists, Nazi, blah, blah, fascists, blah, 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 blah. Well, no, actually they're not. Okay, they're people that live in a neighborhood that wish to keep their families and their neighbors safe. And that's just being a good neighbor. That's just being a good part of the community. You know, back in the 70s, it was, what were they called? The Angels? Street Angels or something? And that was the community coming together in New York. And that started there, where they were walking through their own neighborhoods. And I believe in Texas, right now in Texas, through some bad, I can't remember which city or cities it was in, but they are black folks in predominant black areas that also are walking and guarding their streets, not unlike the Sons of Odin, and not unlike, what the heck was their name? The Street Angels, you know, the Neighborhood Angels. And the people that live there, the actual people that live there, not some kind of fool politician that gets $10,000-$15,000 of our tax money a month, has a $300 plus a year expense account, jet sets around the world, you know, on expensive fuel, drinking and partying with his friends, trying to pretend he's a man king, you know, when he's a man child. That's what's going on. You guys happy with this? Are you happy to the fact that that somebody who claims to represent the public, what are you representing us as? Obviously a bunch of dirtbags looking at Trudeau's so-called apology, blaming everything on us, you know, but you know, oh well, because, you know, I'm presenting myself forward, you know, on behalf of my electorate, on behalf of citizens, on behalf of the people. Yeah, no, therefore I can afford, you know, a $100 glass of wine, and I can afford all the best steak and crab and whatever else, you know, my expense account has to offer. I mean, we got to shut this down, guys. We have to shut this down. If CBC runs on public money, and now they're a private corporation, guys, don't kid yourself. They're like the schools. These are crown schools. They're private schools that act as public de facto schools, act as, you know, a public de facto propaganda station. So now this corporation, any corporation that operates on public money, well, there needs to be somebody like, you know, the commissioner of ethics, say some kind of commissioner that is able to go and look at their expense accounts and what they're spending and how much they actually need, right? And be able to figure out, you know, like I was telling you about my neighbor there, the manager wanted to get rid of him at the job he was at, and they said, well, you're stealing gas. No proof, no witnesses, no nothing, just an excuse to besmirch the man's good name in public and screw him over from being able to receive unemployment insurance. Okay, so no report to the cops, no nothing, just some guy saying so. Does that not make every one of us guilty until proven innocent? Is that the way you wish to live, folks? Well, that's what we're getting. So, like, you look at this. I remember walking down the street, driving down the street, and a cop wasn't allowed to even talk to you unless there was a reason, probable cause. None of this, well, your bitchy neighbor next door saw you come home, so they phoned the cops, said you were swerving all over the road just because they hate you, and now they're coming into your home, your domestic jurisdiction, and if you tell them to go fly a kite, then you're you're arrested, you lose everything, blah blah blah, and on and on and on. Is that what we come down to? Communist Poland now? That's that kind of law. Are we voting just for the sake of voting? Like, do the people that are voting liberal, are you doing it because you're getting paid off? Like, there's something into it in it for, say, your certain group of people, like the LGBTQ XYZ FLQ guys. You know, and I'm not insulting you. You know, you're my fellow man and woman. You're my fellow man of mankind as well. And I can dig it. You know, it's not my thing. It's your thing. I can dig it, but I don't have to dig some kind of society of persons. All right? I owe nothing to any. I don't owe nothing to the legal society. I don't owe anything to the FLQ society. I don't owe anything to any society except for my society, which is my family. Oh, and I do owe to my fellow man to make sure I do my best not to cause harm, injury, or loss to my fellow man. That is the law of the land here. I do owe to my fellow man if I see that they're in dire straits and I can help, to stop and help. Some crazy woman walking down the street the other day with a knife, dancing around the street, walks up to another woman, stabs her like 15 times. It took like 4 big guys to subdue this woman from totally annihilating this poor lady. That's what we're down to now. You know, so okay, so if she's considered like that man that cut that young man's head off, minding his own business on the back of a Greyhound, cut that man's head off. Well, he's back out in the street, folks. Yay! Is that what's going to happen here now? See, if you do something so heinous as to cut another man's head off, a young man with a future, if the doctors wish to let you release you into public, then the doctor should have to sign a guarantee for that man's action or that woman's actions and be liable for all damages caused. Hey, you get rid of the Hippocratic Oath, we get rid of your frickin' immunity. If it's on your word that this man or woman can come into society, then it's on you. Totally on you. If any harm, injury, or loss comes to anybody else, then it should be just as easy as 1, 2, 3. Hold a court of record trial by jury that only falls under the common law, where the magistrate is independent of the tribunal, and your peers or his peers, you know, 12 crazy people can turn around and find him guilty or not guilty. Should be that simple, man. I realize that we have a lot of folks with mental disabilities. I understand that. You know, I feel bad for that young lady being used. The one in the sailboat that wants us to be, you know, as fearful as she is. That's too bad she has to live in fear. Nobody should have to live in fear, especially in the free world. Now, I realize Switzerland's not a common law land, and it's part of the Western world. They have their Western culture, and it's a Napoleonic civil law land. Whereas we're a common law land, and we're the free world. This is where the people are the government. We are the government. Trudeau is not the government, okay? Trudeau's a public servant for the government. We are the government of Canada. He might be Canadian government, but we are the government of Canada. Huge difference. Huge difference. One represents the people, and one represents the corporate body, corporation, the inner city of London. Anyways, I had something I really wanted to hit on today, but I'm going to leave it at that because I said I would do better, so I'm not going to get all, you know, off on separate tangents in one film. Honestly, guys, can you honestly look yourself in the face, like in the mirror, and vote for Trudeau? Can you really? Wow. Wow, the guy's a psychopath. Well, maybe you are too. Maybe you're just like him, and you just wish to use your neighbors, your cousins, aunts, uncles, grandmothers, grandfathers, sons and daughters as a meal ticket off everybody else's hard labor. Because that's all he's doing. We have a future, and kind of still. And before that future is, okay, Seven, I see you, girl. Hey, come here. That's my girl. That's my girl. Yeah, what a good girl. Yeah, you're such a good girl. Yes, you are. But before there is no future, and we're all living like one of those sci-fi movies where nobody is allowed to show emotions or do any critical thinking, and we're all taking frickin' drugs. We need to smarten up, and this is why I'm giving Max a chance. Oh yeah, where'd that go? Oh jeez, I had it here. I'll bring it out in the morning. I'll find it. I wanted to show you guys that. But yeah, if we don't stand, then mankind is going down. We're going down hard. On that note, I wish you all well.